Habari yako? Wewe ni?
Kwa K24 TV.
Asante sana.
Mark Masai, NTV.
Asante.
Happy holidays.
Nice to see you.
Ali Manzu, KTN.
Karibuni.
Asante. Thank you for having us.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Merry Christmas. Yes.
Are you enjoying it?
I am. I happen to like Mombasa. Yeah? Just like that. I just happen to like it.
Yes. Like
yes.
It runs in the family.
Yeah. Yeah?
Asante sana mtazamaji popote ulipo, natumai unatupata vema kabisa. Tunakuja kama tulivyokuelezea hapo awali kwenye taarifa zetu kwa njia moja kwa moja kutoka katika ikulu ya Mombasa. Hii leo tumepata fursa ya kuwa na kiongozi wa taifa, Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais kwa kuweza kutupa fursa vyombo vya habari hivi kuweza kukuhoji kuhusiana na masuala mbalimbali ambayo yanaendelea katika uendelezi wa taifa. Mimi naitwa Ali Manzu, natoka katika shirika la KTN, yani Standard Group hapa nchini Kenya. Labda niwape fursa wenzangu pia wajielezeni kina nani.
Kwa majina naitwa Edward Kabasa, nafanya na KBC.
Nami ni Mark Masai from NTV and the Nation Media Group.
Nami ni Hussein Mohamed kutoka Citizen TV Real Media Services.
Nafahamika kama Anders Ihachi kutoka K24 TV Media Max Network Limited.
Karibuni sana.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais kwa fursa yako kwa mara nyingine tena. Na moja kwa moja nitaanza kukuuliza swali kuhusiana na vita dhidi ya ufisadi. Hili ni jambo ambalo Wakenya wengi, ukiangalia kwenye mitandao ya kijamii na ukiangalia pia hisia zao, sisi wanahabari tunatangamana nao sana, wamejitokeza na kukubaliana na wito ambao umeutoa. Umesikika kwenye vyombo vya habari, umesikika katika mikutano ikiwemo ule wa mwisho wa sikukuu, ukitaja kwamba hivi ni vita ambavyo wewe mwenyewe umejitolea na uko katika mstari wa mbele kuviendeleza kupitia asasi zako na wale ambao wanakusaidia katika idara ya upelelezi na vile vile katika upande wa mashtaka. Wakenya wameona kweli watu wanakamatwa hapa na pale, lakini hakuna mshiko ule kwamba wanapelekwa kotini, haki inatendeka, wakufungwa wanafungwa na kadhalika. Hivi vita vinaelekea vipi Mheshimiwa Rais?
Kwangu mimi naonelea ya kwamba vita inaendelea kwa barabara sawa. Kutoka upande ya upelelezi, kutoka upande wa DPP, na wewe mwenyewe umekubali ya kwamba kuna kesi nyingi ambazo sasa watu wamefanya upelelezi, wale wa kufanya mashtaka yani ofisi ya DPP wamefanya mashtaka, na hizo kesi sasa ziko mbele ya mahakama ya Jamhuri ya Kenya. Na sisi wote pamoja nami mimi tunatarajia ya kwamba pia mahakama yatafanya yale ambaye yanatakikana ndio Wakenya waweze kupata haki. Na ndipo hata kwa sikukuu ya Jamhuri nilisema, na sio kustaki, nilisema ya kwamba vile wananchi wa Kenya wamesema ya kwamba wanataka hii vita tushinde, na vile sisi kama wale ambao wako kati ya executive tumefanya upande wetu, na nafikiri ya kwamba tumesaidiana kwa njia zote kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumeweza kupatia idara zote ambazo zinahusika katika executive nguvu ambazo wanataka, pesa na kila kitu. Sasa ni jukumu la mahakama kuhakikisha ya kwamba wametendea Wakenya haki yao. Na mimi ni kuwaomba na waomba vile niliwaomba Jamhuri Day, kusema ya kwamba you have these cases friends before you, yeah? finalize them, yeah, and let Kenyans know the verdict. Let Kenyans know the verdict. Hiyo tu, na sina mingine naweza kuongeza.
Mr. President, you said this in Jamhuri Day, you said it before, and there's no doubt that Kenyans are actually rating you highly now in the war against corruption. And I'll quote you what you said. You said, all arms of government must work together to ensure our nation gets rid of this menace. And you said, Kenyan spirits are dampened when we witness suspects released on ridiculously low bail terms,
Yes.
interference in legislative process, and the use of court process to delay justice. Yes, all arms need to work together. So everybody agrees with that. But where do you draw the line? Can the judiciary be active in terms of working together with all the arms of government in fighting corruption?
They
in as
must
far as
be.
determination is concerned, or should they just listen to the evidence before them?
No, they must be. They must be. And by saying that they should be active, is saying that they should hear cases before them expeditiously, but secondly, also independently. We are not asking them to say whether a person is guilty or not guilty. That is their business. That is their jurisdiction. But what we are saying is that Kenyans are tired of seeing cases before our judiciary that take years, months and years. And we are saying, please, ladies and gentlemen, yes, you are independent, we accept. You are resourced, right? But Kenyans are expecting you to adjudicate in an expeditious manner. That's all. That's all we're saying. We're not telling you that this person is guilty. We are saying we have presented evidence to you. We have saying we have prosecuted. And by going through prosecution means that the prosecutor must also ascertain for himself independently that these are cases that should be in court. The prosecutor has ascertained that these are cases that should go forward. So all we are saying is that the judiciary should expeditiously and independently determine these cases. That's all.
Is it time to maybe bring a law to give a time frame? Because how do they do that? Because cases are going on. Sometimes you hear the DPP calling for time, the police calling for time, DCA calling for time. They brought a case in court and they say they need more time.
Well,
to investigate.
these are issues that I think Kenyans should be concerned about, because, like I'm saying, we have the cases before. Right. Kenyans want results from these cases, and including myself. And that is why I have determined to make it public that we need to expeditiously conclude these cases. Now, if our judiciary say that they require changes in the law, let them tell us that they need that, right? That they need additional time. But I don't believe so, right?
Okay.
We have gone through and established special courts, and we have funded them to establish those special courts. Let them go through and concurrently hear these cases, conclude them, and start new ones, right? That's all we are saying.
All right.
Mr. President, don't you think that there is probably a problem with the independence of the judiciary? That corruption
No. I will not agree that we need to interfere with the independence of the judiciary. It is important for a nation to have an independent judiciary.
Is it that independent?
But it must be an independent but yet responsible judiciary. We cannot go to say that we dictate to our judiciary. We have come from that era where the executive dictated to the judiciary, and we saw the problems that caused. All we are saying, we want to guarantee and protect your independence, but equally, you have a responsibility to adjudicate in a speedy and conclusive manner. You cannot leave cases in limbo and use your independence, right, to keep a whole country, at bay. That's all.
You talk about something Kenyans want to see, and that is one word: convictions. They want to see heads rolling. They want to see people behind bars.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, the arrest will just be an exercise of PR.
In futility.
So, as the executive, you've done your part.
Yes.
Then it means there's an arm of the government that you must say is delaying these convictions. That's what Kenyans want to see.
I think, as my friend here has stated, I have not said it once, I have not said it twice, I said it on our National Day, that I am calling upon that independent arm of government to play its part, yeah, and to do it expeditiously. I am not dictating to them, but I am just saying that we all, as a people and as a country, are expecting them to conclude these cases, right? And for people to know the verdict and why they have decided one way or another on whatever verdict that they shall make. All we are saying is let's have this happen quickly.
Bwana Rais, kulingana na swala hilo la vita dhidi ya ufisadi, kuna baadhi ya wanasiasa wameingiza swala la kwamba kuna kabila ambazo linalengwa kwenye vita hivi dhidi ya ufisadi, na vile vile Wakenya wanajiuliza baada ya kipindi chako, manake ulisema utakabiliana na vita hivi, kuna wale ambao kwa hakika watafungwa na mali yao kutwaliwa, kurudishiwa wananchi.
Ufisadi, na nimesema sana, ufisadi hauna rangi, hauna kabila, hauna dini. Ufisadi ni kitu mtu anafanya kibinafsi. Ukiiba, huibi hata pamoja na bibi yako ama na watoto wako, unaiba wewe mwenyewe. Na ndipo nimeendelea kuhimizia Wakenya, hii jangwa ambaye tumesema ni jangwa ya taifa, tusikubali wengine wakuje na watumie kabila ama dini kutuzuia sisi kama Wakenya kupata haki yetu. Ukiiba, uliiba peke yako, na hatua ile ambayo itachukuliwa itakuwa imechukuliwa kwa Uhuru, kwa Otieno, kwa Abdalla, yeah? Kwa Kiptanui, kwa the individual. Hatua ni kwa yule ambaye amekosea Wakenya milioni 40 karibu na 5.
Kwa hivyo kuna wale ambao tuna uhakika baada ya kesi kukamilika watatiwa mbaroni na mali yao kutwaliwa, kurudishiwa umma, kulingana na ripoti ambazo umepokea.
Hivyo ndivyo tuwataka. Hivyo ndivyo, na sio Uhuru anataka hivyo, yeah? Ni Wakenya ambao wataka hivyo. Sio mimi nasema ya kwamba ati mimi nachukia mtu huyu au yule au huyu. Hapana. Wakenya wenyewe ndio wamesema ya kwamba, yeah, wametosheka na mali ya umma kutumiwa vibaya ama kuwekwa kwa mifuko ya wachache.
Na pia wanasema there's some people who are untouchable seemingly because they're close to the president. It is a selective fight against graft.
Nimesema, nitarudia tena, ikija mambo ya kupambana na ufisadi, mimi sina ndugu, sina dada, sina rafiki, sina kabila, yeah? Kila mtu ajitetee mbele ya mahakama kulingana na ukweli wake. Hivyo.
Then how does it make you feel then? I mean, this is something that is very much at your heart now. How does it make you feel then when you see senior members of the Jubilee Party equating this to politics? You've talked about, and you said this.
I have always said it is unfortunate, and I don't want to repeat. I don't want to say Jubilee or this or this or that. No. All I am saying is, this is a national fight. This is a national fight. This is a fight that belongs to every single citizen of our republic, yeah? Regardless, like I keep saying, of age, of race, of gender, of tribe. This is our fight, yeah? So consequently, anybody who is desirous of seeing a better Kenya is part of us, yeah? And anybody who would wish to drive an agenda that this is against, I mean, which community, which religion, which gender, yeah, admires the rape of a country? None, right? So I think we must be very clear, you know. And actually, very calm about this particular issue and say, look guys, right? This is a problem that we have as a country, yeah? That it is as big as the problem of HIV, because if we talk about HIV as a problem of the country, we're not saying which community or which religion, we're saying we must battle HIV. So we must battle corruption together, right? And we cannot associate, just as we don't associate HIV with any tribe, we equally cannot associate corruption with any tribe. This is a curse. This is something that we must, regardless of what political party you belong, what ethnic community you come from, what race you are, this is a fight that we must join, together and fight and win.
All right, so you have a couple of years to go. Of course, you want a legacy. When
Absolutely.
it comes to the war on corruption, what kind of a legacy do you want
I
to leave
want
behind?
to say that we are going to leave behind a legacy where corruption has been brought to an end in our republic, where those who choose public service will choose public service because of their commitment to servant leadership, but not because of what they can gain from public leadership. That's all. And if I can achieve that, I will be thankful to God.
Many have gotten the credit for the fight against corruption, and definitely your leadership right now with the verve that it's showing. But the DCI and the DPP as well, they've had a lot of credit thrown their way. Would you term the Office of the Auditor General as one of the strongest pillars in the fight against corruption?
I don't look at any particular office. I just say that the holders of all offices, all public offices, must be part and parcel of our endeavor to defeat this vice. Right? So I am not going to say this office is bigger or better than that. Everybody has their role to play. Let us all play our part. Let me play my part. Let you as journalists play your part. Let political leadership play their part. Let the judiciary play their part. Let everybody play their part, yeah? That helps us build and make a better republic, yeah, for the people of this land, period.
One more thing on corruption. Yes. What is your position on the recent remarks by the Director of Public Prosecution that some of these high-profile suspects continue to hold office even after being charged in court? Should they step aside, that is appointed or elected officers, both of them? And number two, ultimately for you, because you've been at this before, what guarantees or what shows you have won or achievement in the war of corruption? Convictions or prosecutions? How will you measure it?
I agree, and I think that is what most Kenyans agree on, that our ability to show victory in this war is convictions, right? And that is why, if you recall, when we had this discussion a few years ago, yeah, there was all this clamor that cases that are going on are weak in terms of investigation, are weak in terms of prosecution. That is why we doubled back as the executive and we said, okay, let us now work on strengthening these agencies that belong to executive, that are responsible for investigation. And I believe we have done so. Not only by resourcing them, not only by bringing in new people, but also by building and bringing on board expertise even from outside the country, right? To support these agencies in order to have them develop and build, yeah, concludable cases. So I believe as an executive we have done our part, yeah? And that is why I keep saying, now these cases cannot be claimed as previous cases, yes? We took our responsibility, and I want to remind you, because people tend to forget, yeah? That when we pushed last time, we were told, no, the problem we have here is the cases that are coming before the judiciary. So I took that flag. We have done what we were required to do, and I believe now, yeah, we have stronger agencies, we have new people, we are cooperating, like I'm saying, with different people from across the globe, who are supporting us and who also have the same information that we have, and they also believe that now we have strong cases, right? So all we're saying is, please, let's conclude them.
Labda la mwisho kwenye swala hilo la ufisadi.
Tafadhali, hatuwezi kuongea juu ya ufisadi. Umetoka Nairobi mpaka Mombasa kuongea tu subject moja.
Kuna wengi wanajiuliza kuhusiana na baraza lako la mawaziri. Je, limekusaidia kwenye vita dhidi ya ufisadi? Maana tumeona ukiwaonya baadhi ya mawaziri waweze kusaidia kwenye vita hivi.
Na nitaendelea kufanya hivyo. Nitaendelea kuonya Wakenya wote ambao wamepatiwa jukumu na wananchi wa taifa letu kuwa wako na majukumu na vyeo mbalimbali. Jameni, msisahau mmepatiwa hiyo vyeo, ya? Ndio muzingatie maisha na mali ya umma. Hamujapata vyeo, ya? Mujisaidie wenyewe. Allah. Na mimi kama rais, na mimi kama kiongozi wa nchi, lazima, sisemi ya kwamba wanafanya, lakini lazima kila wakati ni wakumbushe, jamani, kumbukeni, tuko hapa sio kwa niaba yetu sisi, lakini kwa niaba ya wananchi ambao wametupatia nafasi na jukumu la kusimamia umma. It is my responsibility as president to constantly remind, not to say that I'm accusing anybody, but to constantly remind that that is why we are in the positions we are in.
All right, let's move to the Big Four agenda.
Yes.
And speak about the universal health care and the affordable housing. You suffered a setback from the courts when the 1.5% contribution was suspended by the court. And we have also seen Court 2 coming out saying that there needs to be some clarity with regards to this. The teachers' unions also have their issues. What are you doing to address this gaps?
We are
which clearly
continuing to talk to them, to make them understand, because like I'm saying, we are not here to force down agendas, but we're here to tell them we have these programs which we believe are for the ultimate benefit of our people. Because if there is one thing that every single citizen wants at the end of the day, from the day they start working to the day they retire, is to own their own home and to have the comfort of knowing that I have the ability and possibility of owning their own home. Look here, gentlemen. When we sit today and we say that a nation of 45 million people, yeah, has less than 500,000 mortgages, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? It tells you that the majority of Kenyans are not given, they don't have the opportunity to own a home. So what we are trying to do is to put in place programs that will enable the majority of Kenyans to be home owners instead of rental fellows. This is what we're trying to do.
Right.
Yeah? And unfortunately, with all new programs, there will be a lot of misgivings, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of lack of clarity. And all we're saying, even for those who are going to court, please come, let's talk, let's explain to you what we are trying to do. Right? Okay? What are your fears? Yeah? We don't have to challenge one another, because at the end of the day, yeah, the monies that we're trying to raise is actually trying to encourage a saving culture in Kenya as opposed to a spending culture. And you're saving to eventually own a home. Right? But like I'm saying, with every new policy or program, there will always be challenges. Yeah? I have no ill will against all those people. All I'm saying is, come, let's talk, let us explain to you. And to those that we are explaining to, they understand, they appreciate. If they have issues that they think we can correct, we try and correct and we fix. But ultimately, none of us can be opposed to saying, yeah, that we want our Kenyans to be homeowners. Right? That is what we're trying to do. We want our people to be homeowners.
You say they have different issues. I'll just enumerate one or two if you allow me. I mean, first, some say, why would somebody be forced to pay the tax, yet they may not necessarily buy into the plan?
That's where you're getting it wrong, because we are misleading people by telling them that it is a tax. It is not a tax. It is a saving. It is a saving and a contribution towards owning a home. All right? It is not a tax. And people, unfortunately, are called, it is not a tax. It is a saving, a contribution, right? That ultimately, even if you don't get a house, right, that money goes back to the individual.
Right.
Yeah? And that is why I talked about initially building and developing a culture of saving in society. All right? Okay?
Right.
So when we now are out there saying that we're taxing, it's like you're taking money away from people. That's not what we're doing. Right? Okay. What we're doing is saying you're contributing, and ultimately your contribution is helping you become a homeowner.
Fair enough.
That is what we're doing.
Right.
Right.
So what do
Choice.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It should be by
You
choice.
see, this is where we're saying, if you say by choice, right? We have had all these independent, and that's what I'm saying, you know, let's not go too far. All right? Let's not go too far, right? I've just told you here, right? Gentlemen, we are living in a scenario where, as a country since independence, we have less than 500,000 mortgage holders. Less. I think it's actually probably closer to 200,000, right? Right? And you can do this homework for yourself, right? We have people, right? When you go and try and borrow for a house, you're given a loan for 5 years. My friend, 5 years. How do you repay, yeah? A loan for a house in 5 years, and this is what encourages all these corrupt practices. And that's why we're saying we have to build a system, right? Culture. Where somebody, and a culture, where somebody is able to say, look, I know I can borrow for 20 years because I know, nimetoka shule, nimepata kazi, I have 20, 30 years of work life, right? Then I can have an affordable mortgage, right? Now, if government doesn't get involved in that process, if all Kenyans don't get involved in that process, we continue with this system that becomes exorbitant. And that is why you don't have affordable housing in the country, right? So you need to actually look as to where we are coming from and where we are trying to go to. Yeah? And what we're trying to say is that if we want Kenyans to be homeowners, we must develop and build products, right, that actually make that possible, right? And that's what we're trying to do.
Mheshimiwa Rais, mojawapo
and like ni vizuri nimalize hapa. And that is why I'm saying we are not actually, even when people go to court, we're not forcing it, as you've seen.
Yeah.
We keep saying kujeni tukae, let us explain to you, hivi ndivyo tunajaribu kufanya, hivi ndivyo tunajaribu kufanya, kwa sababu hii swali yako ni gani, shida yako ni gani, tunakuelezea. And the majority who have had the opportunity to be explained to, yeah, they actually begin to understand. Because you say, if you go to today's current mortgage market, as he's saying, the choice of individual, right? You tell me where you can get a mortgage today, yeah, at less than 30,000 shillings. How many Kenyans can afford that every month? And that is why we're saying we want a product that fits into, right, what Kenyans can afford. So we have to build that product, right, in order for many, many more to be able to access housing.
Vyema kabisa.
Nimemaliza hivi.
Mheshimiwa, nataka nikuulize pia kwenye hizo ajenda 4, mojawapo pia ambao kidogo pia ningependa uizungumzie ni kuhusiana na swala la afya, na umeahidi kwamba katika kipindi ulicho hivi sasa hadi mwaka 2022 unataka kila Mkenya awe na bima yake. Hivi sasa katika kaunti ya Makueni, samahani nitatoa mfano, na nimefika kule nimejionea kile kinachoendelea kuhusiana na swala la bima na wanatibu watu wake Makueni vizuri. Ni mfano mzuri sana ambao umetengenezwa pale. Katika taifa letu la Kenya, serikali yako Mheshimiwa Rais, kupitia ule mfano ambao unaendelea kule Makueni, ni vipi utatekeleza hii bima yakikishe kwamba ifikapo mwaka 2022 labda nyanyangu ambaye yuko maeneo ya Ng'ombeni pale ataweza kupata bima?
Ya kwanza, na nimeshukuru, nimesema kitu kizuri, ni kusema ya kwamba umeangalia kaunti ya Makueni. Ni vizuri wa Kenya wajue ya kwamba afya
kwanza
is a devolved function. Alright? Hiyo ndi kitu cha kwanza. Na sisi kama serikali vile tunataka na vile tumeanza kufanya, tumesema ya kwamba tunataka kusaidia kaunti zetu waweze kutekeleza huu mradi wa bima kwa wote. Right? Na sisi tunasaidiana na kaunti pamoja na wafadhili World Bank na wengine wengi kuanzisha huu mradi, tukisaidiana pamoja na kaunti. Na ndipo tulisema ya kwamba kuna kaunti zingine ambazo tayari zimeanza na tumewapatia heko na hongera, lakini tunasema kaunti zote 47 tunataka pia wafanye hivyo, right? Na waweke umuhimu kwa afya na waongeze pesa zao kwa afya, na sisi kama serikali tuwasaidie pamoja na wafadhili na wengine tuongeze. Na ndipo tukasema tuko na program na a program that can be applied across the country. Na hiyo program tumedevelop kama serikali kuu pamoja na counties pamoja na wafadhili, lakini tukasema yastahili mbele ya kurukia kusema huu ni mradi ambao utazungushwa kwa county 47, right? Tufanye a pilot ya counties 4. Na tukasema right? Wacha tujaribu county 2 ndogo, tukachukua Isiolo, na tukachukua Isiolo county ndogo low population, tukachukua Nyeri county ndogo big population, tukatoka hapo tukachukua Machakos county kubwa big population, na tukachukua Kisumu again county ndogo but big population. Tukasema let us use these as trials, kwa sababu hatusemi ya kwamba tuko na kila kitu tumelainisha kabisa. Let us use these counties kama trial, right? Tuone ni nini inafanya kazi, ni nini haifanyi kazi, na tukajipatia muda wa mwaka mmoja kufanya hiyo trial. Lakini kwa wakati huo huo kuna kaunti zingine vile umesema kama Makueni ambao wameanza right on their own, na sio Makueni, Turkana wameanza, kuna wengi ambao wameanza tayari peke yao, na tumesema tutaendelea hivyo with a view of getting the right system ambaye sasa itakuwa system ambaye ita apply across the country, across our counties, right? Na ndio tuhakikishe ya kwamba kila Mkenya ako na bima, kwa sababu tuwajua wenzangu, kama kuna taabu wa Kenya huwa nayo ni malipo ya bill za hospitali. Ni familia nyingi sana katika taifa letu la Kenya ambao zimeishiwa kabisa kwa sababu ya ugonjwa ndani ya familia. Kwa sababu waweza kusema mtu kama hana kazi, utamsaidia kwa njia hii, lakini my friends, hata nyinyi mko hapa, ukiwa na ndugu yako, dada yako ambaye amepatwa na ugonjwa, utauza mali yako yote kuhakikisha right?
On that point, because it's something that you've mentioned, kuna tabu ya malipo ya aina tofauti. And this is in rendering or making this big four a reality. And yes, God grant you the grace, because it will touch the heart of every Kenyan if it is a success. But there seems to be a problem with the country's finance management in terms of paying for services and goods that are rendered. And in this same length or breadth, are you willing to put a law in place so that as people are engaged in bringing forth Big Four, that there is a period or time frame that will enforce the payment for goods and services rendered.
This is precisely why we're saying we're doing this trial run, right? Okay, because like I'm saying, we have to go through all the different motions, and even with our development partners. Yeah? This program that we're doing, we're not, like I'm saying, it's not the national government on its own. This is a program that we're executing with different partners, the counties, our development partners, who are part and parcel of this program, right? And there are many different ideas as to how it can be implemented. Now we have something that we have agreed on, something that we're saying, let's put this out to trial, right? Because at the end of the day, yeah, there will be bumps on this road. You know, I want to be frank, there will be, yeah? It's not been done before, right? But as you're saying, which I completely concur, it's something that Kenyans want. It's something that Kenyans need, right? So we can't say that we're going to sit on our until we get everything perfect, because it will not be possible, right? It has to be through a process of trial and error. There is no product that we can pick up from the market and say, here, this, yeah? We are one of the few countries in the world that is actually experimenting on this, right? Right? And because we have seen there is both a need and that it will reduce pressures on families, right? Big pressures on families, right? And so that's why even our development partners are working together with us, because we are hopeful that we can work and get a product that not only will work for us as Kenyans, but that can be used as a model even in other countries.
So what is the government doing to ensure that the universal health coverage is going to be immune to issues facing NHIF right now?
These are the challenges, you know, my friend, and you're seeing, you know, yeah, we have the challenges, huh? Okay, these are the challenges. This is why we are saying, look, we have to fight this battle of corruption. We have to fight it, all right? Because it's there even in these sectors, right? Okay? But we should not say that because we have those challenges, we stop the program. We fight the challenge, right? But we must continue with the program, because health for all, yeah, will never cease to be a priority for our country, right? But we must equally fight the challenge as we face it, yeah? And let us be true to ourselves, you know. I would be lying to you to tell you that even tomorrow there will not be a new challenge. There will be. But we will overcome these challenges together. We will, you in the media will highlight them, others will highlight them, the agencies involved in corruption will highlight them. We deal with them, but we cannot say because my friend here made a mistake, we're not going to go ahead with universal health coverage. We'll deal with my friend, but go ahead with the program.
Bwana Rais, kwenye hizo agenda kuu 4, swala la kilimo ambalo pia umelitilia mkazo sana. Unakumbuka ukiibua tetesi kuhusiana na sekta ya sukari na vile vile ile sakata kwenye kutokana na wakulima wa mahindi. Labda umepokea ripoti yoyote hadi sasa kutoka siku ya Mashujaa Day?
Tuwagojea. Unajua Mashujaa Day tulisema ya kwamba tumeweka kamati, na mimi nikasema tunataka hii kamati iwe transparent. Nikasema sio tu wizara ya kilimo peke yao, tukaongeza hata pia watu wa county, na tukasema waende, watafute, waangalie, waje na ripoti ile ambaye itatuangazia tabu ambazo ziko na suluhu ambazo pamoja tutaweza kutekeleza, ambazo zitaweza kurekebisha sekta hiyo ya mahindi na sekta pia ya sukari. Na kwa wakati huu ni siku chache tu nikaambiwa wanaendelea, nagojea ripoti ikija haitakuwa ripoti ya siri, tutawatangazia hii ndio ripoti, hivi ndivyo tumekubaliana na hivi ndivyo tumesema kutekeleza marekebisho in these sectors. So siwezi ni kuambia ya kwamba hivi ndivyo tutafanya mpaka kwanza hiyo ripoti ikuje, ambaye Wakenya watapata pia nafasi ya kujadili na kuangalia matokeo ya hiyo ripoti, na ndio pamoja tuweze kujua tunaenda namna gani.
Bado wawe na tumaini kuhusiana na usemi uliosema kwamba kutakuwa na ripoti na kutakuwa na suluhu.
Oh, yes. Kwa sababu kamati tayari zafanya kazi.
Speaking of matumaini, because it's tied up to the big four. Again, yes, we can't repeat it enough, it's big for Kenyans, not just for Jubilee, the government. And as we look forward to the dream of the big four, there's a heavy cloud of national debt. Some figures putting it at 4.5 to 4.8 trillion shillings. And 4.5 to 4.8 trillion shillings. And one has to ask, even as we want to realize more, what are we doing? What's your plan to manage our debt crisis? Is it austerity or seeking more growth by spending more?
You know, we have to appreciate where we are. Yeah? We have a huge deficit or infrastructure deficit. Now, what you're raising is the chicken and the egg. All right? We're sitting here in Mombasa. What was one of the biggest problems, for example, in Kilifi? It was road infrastructure. It didn't exist. All right? Now, you have to sit and ask yourself, do we do the road in order to be able to allow people as far off as Bamba, who have talked about roads for the last 50 years? Or do we uptake, do the road, which opens up the area, which it has done, which allows those people to begin engaging in economic activity, which they couldn't do, which allows us to start expanding our economy and our growth? Or do you just sit and say, oh, I won't borrow because if I borrow, right?
But you're
the
in debt.
Issue and the key, of course we're in debt.
So how do we deal with that?
By the way, when you talk about our debt, do you know what the debt of the Japanese government is? Or what is Japan's debt?
I'm not really concerned about Japan.
Do you know what the Kenyan debt is?
Yes.
What is it?
As I said.
What is it?
Right now, some figures at 4.5 trillion shillings.
Don't talk about, I said, as a percentage of GDP. Talk like an economist.
56% of GDP.
Of GDP?
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
What is Japan's debt?
I'm not in Japan, so I'm not concerned about Japan.
Japan's debt is over 100% of their GDP. Japan. Okay? All right? Because, my friend, the issue of debt is not about incurring debt. It's about how you use that debt. Are you using that debt to expand your economy? Are you using that debt to expand your GDP? Are you using that debt to open up your country? Right? Right? We are now, for the first time in history, doing a road all the way up to Lamu. Go see it. It never existed. Right? Lamu was like another country. Watu walikuwa wanauliza mkifika Kenya salimieni watu. All right? All right? We have opened up the road up from Garissa moving towards Wajir, roads that never existed. We are opening up a road from Mandera going all the way up to Marsabit to join the new highway. We have built a railway line, right? That is on its way now to Naivasha, right? And moving up to Kisumu. We are now also looking at doing a road that's going to open us up from Lamu through Garissa to Isiolo to connect us to Ethiopia and South Sudan. So we're doing the road that moves up towards South Sudan, all right? Which again opens up huge trading opportunities with our neighbors. So, my friend, problem with debt is if you use it to consume, all right? I am confident that Kenyan debt, which is why it is so solid, is for infrastructural development that will benefit not just our generation, but future generations, right? You would have a point if you were saying we were incurring debt to consume. All right? Then you would have a very good point. All right? But the debt that we are incurring is not just for current generations, but for future generations, because those roads, that infrastructure will be there. We have gone today in less than 6 years, my friend. When I got into government, only 30% of Kenyans were connected to power. Today, I have almost 60% of the Republic of Kenya connected to power. My friend, for those kind of reasons, I will borrow.
Okay.
Good friend.
Recently.
I will, and I will continue to borrow. Yeah?
Use it to consume.
Not to consume, to develop.
Development.
Right.
To develop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recently, Mr. President.
Not to consume, to develop, my friend. Don't put words in my mouth.
Recently, Mr. President,
Yes.
I'm assuming you may have seen this, a public furor, and there was almost shock. And this is actually me trying to tell you to just give information to Kenyans, if you can, about a management letter from the Office of the Auditor General suggesting Kenya Ports Authority was used as collateral to seek the loan to fund the SGR, and that China's Exim Bank will now take.
My friend, don't even go there. You've seen the Chinese government themselves say that is nonsense. That doesn't exist. Yeah, I am telling you, it doesn't exist.
It's not
all right.
like
You want a copy of the contract? My friend, I'll get it to you tomorrow. And if you prove your point that it exists, that there is anywhere, then you will have a point.
Okay.
Tafadhali jameni, hii mambo ya porojo jameni, hii watu ya porojo.
I wanted clarification.
Kenya wasiwe na wasiwasi. Hii ni porojo tu.
Porojo kabisa.
Okay.
Manake wameangalia mifano.
What exists is a contract between Kenya Railways and the Kenya Railways and Kenya Ports, ya kwamba watasafirisha mizigo where possible, right, on the SGR. Okay. By the way, today leo hii tukiongea 2018 ile tulikuwa tumekubaliana na wale ambao ni wa China ambao walitupatia hii mkopo, tulikuwa tuwe tunasafirisha 6 trains kati ya Mombasa na Nairobi. Leo hii, my friend, tumefika kiwango ya 2020 where we are moving approximately 11 to 12 trains every day. My friends, we are ahead of our payment schedule. Ahead of our payment schedule. Na hii ni mambo kama mwataka, kwa sababu hakuna kitu ya kuficha. Bandari iko hapa, mgojee, wacha turuke mwaka niwapeleke hapa mkitaka mwende. Tusimame hapo hesabu moja, pili.
I remember, Mr. President, I think in your first term I asked you whether Kenya is going to look east or west, and you said Kenya is looking neither east nor west.
Exactly.
Bilateral debt, Kenya's bilateral debt, China accounts for 57%, 534.1 billion shillings. Some economists say that could be detrimental to Kenya, being settling in debt with only one country taking the lion's share.
No.
What would you say about it?
We are not, and I have repeated this. I was asked that question just the other day, and I made it very clear. We are not tied to any country, but we are working together with those who appreciate and understand Kenya's developmental needs. China being one of them, right? China being one of them. And China is a very, very strong supporter of Kenya's development agenda, right? Just as is the World Bank, just as is the government of Japan, just as is France, just as is Germany, all right? And we will continue to work with these partners. What China actually has done, right? And towards this, by the way, even when I visited the United States earlier this year, right? It was a question that was being posed to me. Why are you all going to China, right? And I explained it is because China is opening their eyes, yeah, and meeting Kenya and indeed most of Africa at their point of need and what they require, right? And I said, and they're looking at developing different financial packages, yeah, all right, that can fit into what we can afford. Right?
It doesn't worry you.
And actually, to be honest, right, today, right, as a result of our own session, the United States has actually come up with their own products, right, where they are now looking at supporting their own companies to the tune of $60 billion, right, to support, right, their companies doing business in Africa, right, because they actually got the point. They're saying, okay, yeah, because we're saying, look, yeah, China is supporting their company. That's how they're moving. So they're doing it. And we're saying, well, fine, welcome. Let's do business.
So it's not another scrambling petition for Africa because
I don't,
clearly.
you know, those I think are figments of people's imagination. I believe that if they have an interest, yes, they have an interest to trade. They have an interest to improve their own GDP, just like we in Kenya have the same, you know, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean, right, that they are out there to recolonize, or they have never colonized us. They themselves have been a colony, all right? They have never colonized Africa. So really, you know, let us not be people who are bent out on speculation that really is not getting us anywhere.
Because it got people worried that there's some public assets that would be put up against the said loan for the SGR.
But
just to close,
I have said, Bwana Masai,
yes,
right? Do you want a copy of the contract?
yes, and that's what I wanted to say, to ask that you
want a
already.
copy?
Yes, I do.
I will give it to you.
And Kenyans as well. Just so that yes.
I thought through you, you will pass it on.
Yes, to publicize it, not just to have it to me. Because when people want to have it.
Uniambie kwa hiyo contract ni pahali gani?
Nipe tafadhali.
Nitakupatia.
Asante.
Kwa hivyo rais,
Ni mali yako jameni, yesi Mkenya.
Initiative mheshimiwa, Kenya kuna mabadiliko ambayo kila mtu anafahamu hivi sasa kupitia salamu zenu za heri mapema mwezi Machi na mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, kidogo imeleta hali ya imani katika siasa zetu na kadhalika. Tunasonga mbele vipi? Building bridges imekuwa tu watu wanazungumza, lakini Wakenya hawaoni kitu kikisonga mbele.
Mimi nataka kusema hivi kuhusu haya ambayo umetaja. Mwajua nyote ya kwamba mwaka uliopita ulikuwa mwaka wa shida. Ha? Okay, tulikuwa na uchaguzi, si hata uchaguzi, tulikuwa na uchaguzi mbili. Na mimi niseme kwa ukweli wangu, as far as I'm concerned, mimi nina haki na nina imani ya kwamba nilishinda huo uchaguzi. Kwa lakini taifa bado lilikuwa haliko pamoja, sababu mwajua mwaka huu mwenzangu pia kwa sababu ya pressure akaenda pia akasema amejiapisha pia, na wale si ni mwajua hii yote. So good people, ikafika wakati tukasema, look, you know, maybe it's time to reach out to one another. Ni nini ambaye inasababisha hii? Na hii ni mambo ambaye imefanyika kwa taifa letu from as early as when we started all this mambo ya multipartyism ni siasa yetu ikakuwa ni siasa ya kuingiliana, ni siasa ya ukabila, ni siasa ina umwagikaji wa damu. Jamani, 92, how old were you?
1992 I was 12 years old.
12 years old.
Yes.
Jamani, ulikuwa bado uko primary?
I was still in primary school.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All this time, every 5 years, tabu, right? My friends, if you look at Kenya, right? Kenya was well ahead of some of the so-called Asian tigers at the time of the 60s and early 70s. But we lost it because of our politics, right? they were able to sustain agendas that were able to run over their politics, go through their politics. Their development was consistent, progressive. We ourselves, every 5 years, the country comes basically to a standstill. Standstill. 1 year before, 1 year after. So it is like we're just starting from scratch.
Yes. So,
Let me finish my point. So we decided and we sat down. And when we sat down with Raila, we said, look, let's not talk about politics of elections. Huh? Because if we sit down and talk about politics of elections, probably we will never agree. But let's talk really about our country. Let's really talk about whether this every 5-year issue, what is it doing to our country? Is it helping our people? Are we able to move forward? And I really want to, and I say to his credit, we sat down and we said, no, we can't continue like this. We may disagree politically, but surely, as leaders, we cannot continue to put our country at a standstill, like I'm saying, every 4 years. And we actually started engaging one another on the basis of what is wrong with our country. And we started talking. And we started engaging one another. And we found, by the way, there are many areas that we agree. We agree, for example, that corruption is something. And corruption comes, again, because everybody feels, I want to win because it's my turn to eat. Then when this party wins, it's my turn to eat. Then that one is my turn to eat. Then the other issue we started talking about was like, hey, by the way, it is also about exclusion. Yeah? People feeling that if I don't win, I'm excluded. Right? I'm excluded. If you look at the 92, one community felt it was being excluded, so they were, or one or two, they were on this side. Then you come to 2007, another community felt they were excluded, problems. Then come 2017, another community feels. So we said, look, these are things that we must address, right? And then we just started engaging. And that's why we said we have to find these building bridges. Because we don't have the answers. Raila doesn't have the answers. Uhuru doesn't have the answers. But we must begin engaging our people and saying, ni nini ambaye inakula, and what is it that we can do to ensure that as a country, as a people, we have a much longer term agenda for our nation that is inclusive, that incorporates everybody. Right. We are not kwa nini nyinyi mnataka kuongea? Nilikuwa nafikiria umeuliza swali nijibu, alafu wacha nijibu. Wacha nimalize. Tafadhali. Umeuliza swali nimalize. Yeah? Hiyo ndio common decency. Anyway, so tukasema, let us go through. And we started discussing on a variety of different issues that we thought actually affect the country, right? And we said we need to extend this, and that's why the Building Bridges initiatives came up, saying, how do we engage people? Let's get to hear what Kenyans want. Let's get to understand what causes people to feel this way. What causes people to feel excluded? How can we deal, with some of these issues, but deal with them as a people, right? And this is an agenda, and I want to be very frank. Yeah? This is an agenda that I have engaged Raila for most of this year, right? And other leaders as well who we are trying to bring on board. And it is an agenda I will not. Sisimami, hii tunaendelea naye. And I really believe I have a partner, in Raila who believes, right? Yeye ni mtu ya ODM, mimi ni mtu ya Jubilee, right? But on this issue, tumeamua ya kwamba Wakenya hawatapigana tena, na lazima tutatafuta njia ya vile tutafanya siasa zetu, right, kama taifa, yeah, bila kugawanya wa Kenya na bila kuwa na society ambaye imewacha wengine. On that one, he is my partner na tuna drive hii.
Okay.
Na hiyo nimemaliza.
Thank you.
Semeni sasa.
Your Excellency, recently in Kisumu, you said we must examine, it's what you're talking about, we must examine the winner-takes-all approach to elections, whether it's a good or bad thing for our country. In the March 9th statement, when you shook hands, you talked about changes that are required in our system of governance. People have been talking about clamor for constitutional change and referendum. Is this what you mean? Are you saying we need a new structure of government?
I am not saying anything, and in fact that's why I'm finding it quite surprising that people are engaging about whether there shall be or there shall not be a referendum. I want to ask you, Hussein, yeah? Do you not want to be part, yeah, of an agenda that says Kenyans should talk to one another and find out why is it that we are always at loggerheads every 5 years? Do you not want to be part of an agenda, right, that says how do we ensure that corruption, yeah, is fought? Do you not want to be part of an agenda that says, all right, why can't we agree on the basics, you know, healthcare, housing, as we're talking about, things that affect our people, right? And have a much longer term viewpoint that actually overrides any individual, right? Because in 10 years, as a whole, I will not achieve all of those things. No leader will. We must have a system that looks well beyond and looks actually at our grandchildren, right? Now, don't you want to be part of that discussion and say, what is this that is denying us the ability to do that? And that is actually what we are engaged with Raila. We have never, for one day, spoken about 2022 with Raila. So I am surprised when I start seeing people, oh, I don't know, we are talking about things that we believe if we can fix them, we have fixed them for generations to come. And that is the debate and discussion that I will continue engaging, not just Raila, but all those people who see the potential that Kenya has and who are disappointed, yeah, by us not having achieved that potential.
Yes. Just to continue on the same line, it's definitely a welcome move, unprecedented in many ways for Kenya, and it helped the business environment. It opened up the business environment because people always hold their cards close to their chest in terms of investments right before elections and right after, just to see what will happen. And indeed, things weren't the best last year.
Exactly.
And you've talked about finding a partner in Raila Odinga within this handshake and building bridges initiative. But there's something we can't escape, and there's a partner you have in the government that you run. Is this, as people are talking, a way of locking him out from the 2022 elections?
As I repeat again, as I've told you, we have never engaged in 2022 politics with Raila Odinga. But we have come to terms with one another, right? That we cannot allow the type of politics that we have been playing to continue. And that is why I'm saying we have never discussed 2022. I am finding, as I repeat again, I'm finding it I have been very vocal myself. Why are people bringing 2022 politics, right, when we have just come from an election last year? Yeah? I have told people, please stay away. We know they will come, but there is so many things that we need to sort out together as our people in order for us to be able to have, yeah, a peaceful choice in 2022, right? And part of that is focusing on the development agenda and the agendas that we all agree on. And the other one is reaching out across political lines, yeah, and say, guys, you know, let's deal with this. Let's deal with why should it be that every 5 years, how will we ever achieve our dreams, our aspirations as a nation if the most we can do is planned around either an individual or a 4-year period. It's not possible, right? It's not possible. It's not possible for us to continue with this way and achieve our aspirations as a people. Let's sort this out. That's not taking away from the fact that there will be politics in 2022, yeah? And that's why I'm saying, to me, it was the greatest moment that we were not talking elective politics with Raila, that we were not talking, but we were actually saying we have a problem, right? Okay? Because last year we were on the brink, and you all know it. We were on the brink, and we said, this really, yeah? Regardless of who was president, be it him or me, is this where we have brought our country? And we said no. As responsible leaders, we must sit down and say we can never allow this country, yeah, to go to that point again. And that has formed the basis of our collaboration. That has formed the basis of our discussion. That has brought, and we are bringing everybody. My own deputy, you've heard him say he's part of this agenda, he agrees with it. Other opposition leaders from other parties, including from NASA and others, they want to be part of this discussion. And we want to broaden it to even allow ordinary Kenyans, come on board. And that is the Building Bridges initiative. Let's discuss this. Not to say that we are going to go away from elective politics. We're a democracy. Right. But we must be able to say, how can our democracy mature without it being born in blood? All right?
Right.
That's that, and that is what I'm saying. I will not run away from that discussion, right? On the basis that somebody says, oh, 20, I mean, nyinyi mnataka kuongea hiyo muongee. Mimi siko hapo. Mimi niko 2030 ambapo Vision 2030 itakuwa imekamilika. How do we follow this Vision 2030, which means there will be an election in 2022, there will be an election in 2027, there will be an election in 2032, all right? That is where I'm looking, right. And that is where I am. And you must be clear, yeah, in that. Hii watu wengine peti ambao hiyo shauri yao waendelee. Mimi am not.
Kwa hivyo rais, kuhusiana na swala hilo,
is the current structure of government?
I believe so. I believe so. Because at the end of the day, it is about the will. And I believe the will is there. And I believe the desire of Kenyans is there. They want peace. They want unity. They want prosperity. They want health. They want road. They want these basic things. Right? All right? What has not been there is the leadership. Right? Because the leadership has always been about the next election. And that is why we said, no, it is not going to be about the next election. It is going to be about what will happen when your son, yeah, is now, or daughter, yes, good, or when your daughter is going to be sitting here interviewing, yeah, the next president, or be sitting in this chair as the president, yeah, that they will have had that continuity. And the nation will have had that prosperity. That is the desire, that is the objective. Hii mambo ya 2022 usiniulize, hiyo ni yenu, ni mambo ya 2022. Wale wanataka kuongea hiyo waongee.
Kuhusiana na swala hilo rais, Wakenya wanajiuliza.
Ukiendelea utanikasirisha.
Hapana, si kuhusiana na swala la 2022. Kuhusiana na gharama ya maisha.
2020.
Hapana, gharama ya maisha.
Haya basi.
Kuhusiana na gharama ya maisha na vile kulikuwa na msukosuko wa kiuchumi. Mikakati ambayo umeweka tukielekea mwaka wa 2019 kama serikali yako kutokana na mwamko huo wa uhusiano wenyu ambao umeleta utulivu kwenye serikali ni ipi?
Na tutamalizia hapo katika hilo swala la gharama ya maisha kushukisha chini hususan kwenda mbele kutoka hapa
2018 2019. Hiyo ndio imesababisha tuseme tunataka hii mipango. Kwanza tulikuwa na mpango wa kusambaza stima na kuongeza stima, tuongeze barabara, kwa sababu barabara ya panua. All of this infrastructure is geared towards reducing ultimately the cost of production katika taifa letu la Kenya. Na tukipunguza the cost of production, tunapunguza pia gharama ya maisha ya wananchi wetu. Ndipo unaona sasa hata tukilenga upande ya Big Four, ndio tunasema Tumesema ya kwamba tunataka watu wawe na afya. Vile tumekubaliana hapa, afya ni kitu ambacho kiaharibu maisha ya Wakenya na familia nyingi. Let us intervene as government to reduce that cost. Tuangalie mambo ya housing. How do we reduce the cost of housing in the Republic? Tuangalie kama ni kazi. How do we support manufacturing and support our small and medium-sized enterprises ambayo inaandika watu na wanaweza kupanua biashara zao, na wakipanua biashara zao pia inarudisha chini gharama, right? Ndipo tunaangalia upande ya chakula, right? How do we ensure watu wako na the right healthy food, nutrition and cost? These are the things that we are doing as a government. These are the interventions that we are trying to make, ultimately aimed at ensuring that Kenyans are able to afford, right, and to live comfortably and prosperously in their own country. This is the reason why we're talking about we want all our children to be in education. That's why we're supplying school books. That's why we are supplying and saying we want 100% transition, right? All of this is to remove the burden from the average and normal citizen, right? So that we can have our people living a comfortable and affordable life. And primarily that is why we are also taking on the challenge of corruption. That monies that's supposed to go towards supporting public services is protected and we use it to the benefit of the ordinary mwananchi. Kwa hivyo miradi hii yote msingi wae mwishoni ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumepunguza gharama ya maisha katika taifa letu la Kenya.
All right. Yes, we are pressed for time, Mr. President. But just one last one. The competency-based curriculum. Governors have raised queries with regards to this. How much will it cost the country and how will you raise that money?
You know, already we spend approximately 400 billion shillings every year to support our education. This is a program and a project that has been looked at again and again for the last almost 4 or 5 years. It's not something new. We have to prepare our children for the challenges as well as the opportunities of the future, which meant we had to relook at this. We have also agreed that we don't want to do this overnight. And we know we can't. We want to do it progressively. We want to start with the first from class 1 to class 4 and progress it slowly, right? Maturely, learn from our mistakes, continue improving, right? The first exams will be years to come, my friend, right? We want Kenyans to please appreciate and understand that the competence-based education that we're saying is to prepare our children for what this tomorrow holds. We can't continue churning out university students who can't get jobs. Yeah? And yet at the same time, importing technical people because we haven't got the necessary skills at hand. We must begin training our people, like I am saying, for the challenges as well as the opportunities that the future portends. And we can't, and it will not be a start-stop. Hii ni kitu ambacho tuwataka tukubaliane kama Wakenya ya kwamba watoto ni wetu, tuwatayarishe pole pole. Na mimi nataka kuomba msamaha actually kwa niaba ya serikali kwa sababu ya confusion ambayo serikali yenyewe imeleta. Huyu amesema, huyu anasema hii, huyu anasema. Mimi nataka kuomba msamaha. Curriculum tutaendelea naye. Right? Na sisi tutarekebisha ndani ya serikali ndio tuongee na sauti moja kwa sababu hapa hatuongei juu ya mahitaji yako au mimi, tunaongea juu ya masilahi ya watoto wetu ambao tunataka tuwatayarishe kwa yale ambayo atakuweko miaka 10, miaka 20 ijayo. Na hiyo yatakikana tuwe na cohesion na tuwe tunafikiri pamoja.
Bwana Rais, sisi ni wageni wako leo, umetuambia tusizungumze mambo ya 2022.
Hiyo mimi
ingawa tunaendelea na siasa, sijui kama ni finally ungeniruhusu nikuulize moja uzime wa siasa mara moja.
Zima basi.
Haya basi nakuuliza Bwana Rais, juzi tumemwona Vice Chair wa Jubilee akiongea na akisema ile pact kwamba hakuna pact.
Hiyo ndio mimi nakuambia, wale ambao wanaongea hiyo wanaongea yao.
The pact is
yangu mimi najua tuko na chama yetu, tutakuwa na mpango yetu uko mbele, kama vile wale wengine watakuwa na mipango yao, lakini lazima tutayarishe kwanza inchi kulingana na vile tumeanza kuongea hapo na ndugu yangu Raila, kuhakikisha ya kwamba damu ya Mkenya haitamwagika tena kwa sababu ya siasa. Hiyo ndio lengo langu sasa, na nikiangalia mbele. Wale mnataka kwenda kukimbiza uchaguzi, kwende, mimi siku na mimi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais, tunafurahi sana. Muda hauko nasi, lakini tunafurahi muda ambao umetupa.
Nashukuru mmekuja kunitembelea.
Asante sana kwa kuwa wageni wako. wa Kenya wamesikiza na wengine wametazama vilivyo ujumbe ambao umetoa. Bila shaka na imani pia mwisho wa mwaka una ujumbe maalum ambao utawapa. Hatuna la ziada ila kusema shukrani, na tunarudisha katika studio zetu kule jijini Nairobi, waendelee na vipindi. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais.
Karibuni sana, na nichukue nafasi tena kwa wish Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Tuje pamoja jameni, na munisaidie kwa hii kazi ya kulete wa Kenya pamoja. Hiyo ndio jukumu langu na lenu na la kila Mkenya.